Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. We're still stuck in Zoom, but we've got a very special one. Mace the Ace, Chris Mason. Chris, recovered from the Worlds?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a quite a strange experience. I was there obviously for Talk Sport for the duration. Hotel life was pretty tough, and bubble life was pretty tough. As you know, we were all in our own little secure bubbles, but you know, we could see people across the across the venue and have a wave and a brief conversation at distance, of course. But yeah, it sort of gave me a little bit of a different perspective in what the players were mentioning about how tough it's been, because of course they were, some of them 3 and 4 weeks at a time in a hotel. So yeah, they have my sympathy. But yeah, it was brilliantly put on by Sky. I think they covered the event fantastically without a crowd. Of course, we did have that amazing night where we did get 500 in there, and to be honest, I had to walk around the venue where the fans were, and it was so secure. I could understand Barry's frustration at why we couldn't have 500 in every day. It literally was so safe. But it is what it is. But we got to see yet another new champion in Gezzy Price, which for me was fitting.
I was going to say, across the year, I don't think there's a doubt that he has been the best player in the world in 2020 straight beginning of 21.
Yeah, well, we had these conversations, didn't we, throughout probably the last 12 to 18 months, where it rattled a few people's cages on social media. You know, there was a period where we thought Gary Anderson was the best player in the world right now, and then Gezzy Price took over the mantle. You know, we had a little brief spell where Michael looked great again. But yeah, I think we scored a few bonus points. We said Gezzy Price was the best player in world darts right now. He's now proven it. He's now the world champion. He's now world number 1. The end. It's not up for debate. It's not up for discussion. The man's proven himself at the highest level and done it with some style.
Different kind of pressure on his shoulders now, isn't there? Because he now becomes the hunted instead of the hunter. And that
I can relate to that on local league level, but yeah, he's yeah, I suppose so. But I don't know. There's Gezzy Price is a different breed. You know, he's just I don't know. He's divisive. Of course, he's very Marmite. People love him or people loathe him, but he's brought a different dynamic to the sport and a different dimension. The way he approaches it, the proper sportsman in him, and I mean that in terms of you know, fail to prepare to fail type attitude. He leaves nothing to chance. He's 100% committed. He gives it everything, and you can see that, which is, you know, why he's quite explosive at times and quite emotional. And he's a different guy away from the hockey, and you know, we get the chance to see them in a different environment. And he's quite a quiet guy. He's not, you know, he's not what you would expect when you watch him on TV. But I'm thrilled for him. It's great for the sport. Like I said, he just adds something brand new, and the sport needed a new hero or villain, whichever side of the fence you sit on. He's just absolute. I mean, we spoke about it so much. He's absolutely box office. You know, back-to-back Grand Slam champions. You know, I mean, what he sort of 12 months he's had, or let's say 18 months, Grand Slam. I mean, and then wins the Grand Prix, and then, you know, the World Cup, and then the world title. You know, three world titles in 4, you know,
wild events.
Yeah. Better not get into the major and that's for another call. But yeah, I mean, he's fabulous in every department. And like I say, some people like it, some people loathe it. We keep hearing about the gamesmanship and everything else, and keep hearing Bristow's name and Jockey Wilson's name. listen, they don't do anything that stops you from performing at your best. You know, whatever mind games go on pre and post match, that was it. But Eric never got involved in it, in what I would call out and out cheating on stage. And I think you hear a lot of it from non-players. I was very surprised at Rod and Wayne, but to be honest, when you look back at the way they played the game, I understand why they condoned Mentzer's behaviour, which I thought was very sad at the time, and puts out the wrong message. But there we go.
Two topics then. We'll cover the gamesmanship one because you brought it up. Gary wasn't shy, was he, at the Worlds? In fact, he was absolutely fuming. We've seen him rant before, but that took it to a whole another level. And look, we know it's a grey area because there's nothing in the rule book to state this is cheating, this isn't. Are we getting to the point now where something needs to be drawn up so people know where the line is?
Yeah, well, I've thought a lot about this, and let's take the game back to its most basic form. Would you behave like that and try that in a pub? Don't think you would you?
No.
I think it's easy to do it when you've got the safety net of it being on TV, knowing you're not going to get too much of a reaction out of the player until after. I love Mentzer a bit. And Mike is his manager, but I can't. It's undefendable, and it wasn't to help him. It was to stop Gary from playing to the best of his ability. And the beauty of our game, it's very, very basic. You get 3 darts, the board's in the same place, the hockey's in the same place, the numbers are in the same place, and you've just got to try and score more and finish quicker than your opponent to win. It doesn't need, listen, I love the mind games we've had with Peter Wright and Gezzy Price and Michael van Gerwen, and Adrian Lewis has played his part in it, and go back to Peter Manley, that generation, and obviously like Eric before it. But Eric would beat you in the practice room. He would make you second guess yourself. He would make you want to beat him so badly that you didn't perform to your best, but not because he did anything on the hockey or anything behind you. How Sky allowed the absolute destruction of Justin Pike for an inaudible cough into his hand that no one on stage heard and his opponent didn't hear because there was no reaction. If it weren't for Justin being so stubborn, he could well have walked away from the game. I just don't. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. You can't have it one way and not have it another. It's it's either either is what it is or it is what it isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it needs nipping in the bud. I know Barry was really keen in snooker, that he's been monitoring shot time for quite a number of years, and I think what he may find what he deems as an average and acceptable time. And if you don't meet that, you get penalised. I remember the Peter Ebdon, Ronnie O'Sullivan game, and I absolutely adore snooker, and I couldn't watch it. And we can't afford for people to start channel hopping and moving away if we allow that to go on, because where does it stop? Someone just stand up there and have a minute in between throws then? Where does it stop? Darts is unique in that sense, which is why the bookies love it. It's rat tat tat, it's bang bang bang. It's all action. That the final. I know we're going to get onto the Worlds in a minute, but between Gary and Gezzy, I could have watched that all night because it just had everything. And all the drama at the end. It was, and that's what the sport needs. We don't want people talking about the wrong things. It's but it is what it is. It's done. I'm sure Matt or Barry or someone would have spoke to Mentzer. Like I say, I'm not sure he actually broke any rules, as in what's in the rule book. But although if they can deem a player didn't try his hardest, you know, something needs to be in place. You know, the DRA is great in one way, but in another way, they got to be consistent. You know, when you look at the fine that Gezzy Price had at the Grand Slam, you know, it was 20 odd grand. I know it was appealed eventually, but that's a wedge of money. That's a wedge of money, and you know, and I think you know, us in the media have a responsibility to nurture a sport we love. You know, I go out of my way to live as clean as life as possible, and you know, try everything I can when I'm working on the sport to give it the best image possible. And I think we all have a responsibility. And I'm certainly, you know, when things get back to normal and I go back to doing, you know, my coaching days, and I get a crowd where I have the young ones in, I'm not going to start saying to them, right, this is how you do it. You know, you want to kick him here, or when he's going for a double, stand behind and get everybody cheering so he misses. Nah, not going to happen, is it?
Were you also pleased that Gary stood up to it as well and had his say so vocally in the media? Because many players don't. They just it beats them up inside, but they just get on with it. But Gary let everyone know who he had to hunt with, from Mensah to Rod to Wayne to Sky to everyone.
Yeah, I think again, he's fighting for all the players. You know, that's why we have a PDPA. That's why we have a DRA. You know, and they should stand strong with you if you think something's wrong. And it was wrong, and he's right to speak up. And you know, again, he gets, Gary's always moaning about. Listen, that guy's committed 25 years of his life to the sport. Yeah, he has got injuries. You know, these guys are playing an insane amount of darts, and he's got a life as well outside of darts. You know, and you know, he made the choice not to travel because of COVID. Fair play, he's got a young family. If that's what he believes, then so he shouldn't moan about that. He shouldn't moan about having a bad shoulder. He shouldn't moan about someone trying to cheat him out of a win. Yeah, I think you know, I'm a big Gary Anderson fan. If you love darts, it's impossible not to be a Gary Anderson fan, because he's just so easy on the eye and great to watch. And I loved seeing a little bit of fire in Gary's belly, because that means one thing, that he'll try this year.
He still cares.
Yeah, he cares. You know, I thought this might have been his last year. Not by the sounds of it.
No, they've pressed the buttons, and I think we could see the Flying Scotsman for maybe another decade, perhaps. That fire is burning that brightly at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he maybe physically to be able to, well, physically and mentally do it for that long. Probably maybe 4 or 5 is my thinking. He's practicing with Ryan Searle this year, which is going to do them both a massive favour. I mean, you say about Gary's game going to come back this year. Look out for Ryan Searle, because you know, I pre-COVID I was practicing with him, and yeah, he's impressive, and he's going to get better and better.
Talking of Gary, with all the problems he has, the lack of practice, we know unless he's got someone to practice with, the darts are in the case and he just picks them up. The injuries that he's had, the fact he's made a world final and a match play final, that's some statement from someone that's not really cared this year.
Yeah, and hardly played anything. I mean, I tuned into your live show on Monday. Is it Monday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know what day it is. COVID day. Who knows? And you know, you all 3 of you made a great point that, and me, myself, and you spoke about it as well. We didn't think Gary was going to be able to defend it all this year. You know, or the last 12 months, we both thought he was in big trouble, because he wasn't playing anything. He was, if it wasn't his back had gone or his shoulder, his knee had then gone, and we were really scared. We thought, well, this could be the beginning of the end for Gary. But yeah, incredibly, he's just, like you say, that just shows you how good he is. He can make 2 major finals, and he's probably running at around about 70%. If
scary when you look at it. If we get the Gary that we're hoping for, this little triangle perhaps of Gary, Michael, and Gezzy, for the next 2 years, this is exciting for darts fans, isn't it?
Yeah, you can throw
Peter right in there.
Peter right into that mix. He can sometimes get a little bit feisty and make it a bit spicy. Yeah, it's looking good. You know, darts is great at this, especially the PDC now. It's like this conveyor belt. It used to be, you know, the BDO was the feeder system, but that's long since demised. But you know, via the opportunities there, you know, the PDC provide. You know, we've got this, and we've got this next generation coming through. You know, your Nathan Aspinalls, Michael Smith, still a baby in this sport, still gonna do big things as far as I'm concerned. You know, Dave Chisnall's performance in the Worlds, you know, that version of Dave Chisnall for the next 2 years will cause all sorts of trouble. Not sure if he can go on and win one, you know, but if you keep knocking on the door, but you know, the perfect example of that is Peter Wright. You know, 49 and winning his first Worlds because he kept knocking on the door. You keep getting yourself opportunities. Eventually, you'll fall over the line, and you know, I can safely say that you know, Dave Chisnall's got another 10 years maybe. Michael Smith's got at least another 10 years. So, you know, it'll eventually. You would think. Well, the odds are they'll eventually fall over the line at some point.
Back to the World Final. What a way to crown the World Championship. And for the casual fan that perhaps doesn't watch it all, it was just gripping entertainment. And I saw people on Twitter tweeting that don't normally watch darts, this is amazing. And Gezzy's finishing up until the final set was absolutely world class. And then that final set, 11 match darts gone, he's halfway up the stage, doesn't know left, right. And he openly admitted in the media afterwards, he said, I've won titles, but my arse fell out. That,
yeah,
getting over the line in the biggest game of all takes some stones.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, listen, the clowns the clowns that have never been there or thrown a dart in that environment love to throw out, oh, he's a choker or he's a bottler, or listen, and unless you've stood on there, I don't care what your opinion is, because you don't know. You know, you don't know. I don't know what it's like. I wouldn't know what it's like to serve out the final set to win Wimbledon, because I've never played tennis. Do you know what I mean? So my opinion is pointless, but it's just easy, you know. And the one thing you can't question is Gezzy Price's ability to get over the line, because he's done it so many times before. But the magnitude and what it means to these players to become world champion was evident there. And the fact that it just took him because he was in complete control.
Yeah,
you know, the winning line just sort of was there in front of him, and he didn't know how to get over it. But it made great TV. It was great drama. I think it's the 4th highest ever viewed final on Sky. So that speaks volumes when you think of the clashes we've had over the years in the PDC. You know, the Barneveld Taylor one, of course, is one that I think that's the most viewed one, or very, very close. But yeah, it was so well received. And again, you know, he's gone on, you know, he did all the media stuff afterwards, and then, you know, days later he was still doing media stuff, and then goes on to Soccer AM, and you know, doesn't it just make you sick? You know, not only does he look great and he's a great dart player, he looks like he's an all-round sportsman, which makes me spew a little bit. But yeah, I think there was just, I mean, that ridiculous average, 136
in that set. Yeah, just ridiculous.
And didn't he go 10 double tens on the spin or something?
Something like that. He had a love affair with double 10. He just didn't miss it. And
I mean, you know, I mean, Gary will be obviously devastated. I mean, Gary averaged 94 and change in the final, but another 100-odd average for Gezzy Price. Best player, the most consistent, and the best player in the world for me. And it was just, yeah, it was finished off. You know, I'd love to the final to have been a bit closer. I had no preference who I wanted to win or lose in that final. For me, you know, either or. It's great for a new player again. Back-to-back years, we get a new champion. But it would have been great for Gary for his resume. I mean, you know, where he stands in the sport, to have won a third world title, and then obviously to trump Jockey, who won two.
On Gary, before we move on, where is he on your all-time list? I know he's still playing. Where right now? Where would you put him?
I mean, it's hard because you are judged on your world titles, and the era that Barneveld won is, you know, the early ones in the BDO, they were super tough to win. But then his lack of titles in the PDC, and the you know, he did great when he first arrived. Obviously, won the Worlds, and then he won the UK Open, and you know, lots of other things. But he went that long gap without winning anything.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. It's a tough. I mean, I go Taylor, MVG, Bristow, and then, you know, I've got three in that window of Lowe, Barneveld, and Anderson. And change, you know,
changes.
I look at Lowe's in you know, his final one was a bit ropey because of what was going on. But to win 3 world titles in 3 different decades, yeah. You know, there's 3 things you look at. You know, title wins and longevity, and of course, you know, Lowe won pretty much everything else in that era as well. But yeah, I think I discussed it on the radio. You know, if he'd have won a 3rd PDC world title, because obviously winning the PDC world titles doesn't trump, you know, the era when there was only one governing body.
Yeah.
But you know, the first 6 or 7 years of the PDC was very weak. You know, I played in it in '97. I think my first time was played. Yeah, '96 match play. It just started to move in the right direction, and then when, you know, by 2005, 2006, it weakened massively, because obviously then Barneveld came over in 6, 7. All the rest of us had already gone. So yeah, you know, it's hard. It's hard, but I think if Gary wins another major, he just about trumped Barneveld for me. I think I put him in on his own in 4th.
And then are you expecting a big year from Michael? Because we saw signs towards the end of the year that, hang on a minute, he cares. Not cares again, but he's put some work in, and he's recently openly admitted, we all knew, but he's actually admitted it, that first lockdown, he did absolutely nothing. And,
no,
I think he enjoyed cold as cold.
Yeah, I think he enjoyed I think, you know, like I said, the players are constantly on the road, and what people don't understand is when you're not seeing them on TV or wondering what they're doing in the Players' Championships events or the European Tour events or the World Series events, they're off doing exhibitions. So I think he relished the opportunity. He's got a very young family. Yeah, relishing time in that beautiful house it is. He's just had, well, not just built, but it's absolutely stunning. Yeah, just loved the time, and put the darts on the back burner for a while, because none of us knew what was really going to happen.
No.
But the Players' Champs, there was, you know, like Chisnell was unplayable against him. He was unplayable in one of those rounds. And I just think that's where the sport is right now. There's so many of these players that on their given day, they can produce, they're unplayable. And it's just sometimes you just got to put your hands up, and that's it. It is what it is. And of course, Gezzy didn't replicate that performance, which is pretty standard stuff. When you put out the favourite and the world number 1, that tends to happen. But yeah, he in a roundabout way, this probably is bad news. Great news for Michael, bad news for everybody else. You know, because yet again, you know, if he, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's debatable whether you think Phil's the greatest ever or Michael. For me, it's Phil. And I know all of his world titles will run in we've already discussed that about the eras, how weak they were in certain stages. But he's not defended a world title. You know, 2 players above him in recent times that have, Adrian Lewis and Gary Anderson. And of course, they haven't had the dominance, but people tend to judge players on the World Championship success. And if he goes away only having won 3 world titles, I don't think that would leave a particularly good taste in his mouth.
No, I agree.
He at least needs to equal Barneveld.
Yeah, like you say, I think this. I'm expecting big things from Michael this year. We saw signs last year that the effort was back in, and yeah, I'm expecting big things from him.
He won't dominate again. He's
everyone else has caught him up.
Yeah,
everyone else has raised their level.
He has his level, although he's still capable of producing those ridiculous averages. His level's definitely come down a bit. Can he raise it again? You know, history tells us, you know, the first one really to push Eric and take the game to another level was Bob Anderson, really. And then Eric, although the Yips played its part, he sort of took it up another notch. And then along come Taylor and then Priestley, and then they sort of pushed each other, and then Taylor raised it again. So history tells us that, you know, but where's the ceiling? Where does it stop? Are we gonna, you know, is the 100 going to become 110? You know, like the 90 average became 100 average. Yeah. Is the 100 going to become 110? Or Unicorn going to make even bigger boards? And then, you know, it'll end up like soft tip. You get paid, you get punished by your mistakes rather than what you hit. I think, and I don't think Michael likes the fact that Michael's a bully. All great sportsmen are bullies. Individual sportsmen, they're narcissistic and they're bullies. That's their makeup. What makes them so great. And we've seen from Michael, the fragilities are there, the vulnerabilities are there. They were, you know, when I knew Michael when he was 14, 15 years of age, and then I watched him come along, and I thought he's just going to tear the back doors out of this sport. And then he couldn't find a way to win, and that affected him massively. And then he eventually won the Grand Prix, and then the rest was history. He's going to have to show us something we've not seen before. He's a great winner. He's a great leader. But can he find another gear, and can he cope with not being the ultimate bully on the dartboard? We're about to find out. He's going to listen. We're only a matter of a week or so away from the Masters. Don't be shocked if he rocks up to that and steamrollers everybody, because he's got that in the locker. I don't like his draw. I don't like the half of the draw he's in.
Bottom half's horrible. We'll come on to the Master shortly, but that bottom half is absolutely
loaded, isn't it? I'm really sort of struggling for him. In the bottom half, we'll work from the top of the bottom half. MVG against the winner of DeSouza or Clayton, and then underneath that, Wade, Dimitri or Dodie, then Wright, Ratajski or Whitlock, and then Chisnell, Gurney or Deswan. I mean, when he won the UK Open last year, that's the toughest draw I've ever seen. This could quite well match that.
We'll come on to the Masters in a minute. We'll go in chronological order. Straight after the final, Matt on Sky announced the Premier League news. Only 9, no contenders. First of all, are you a fan of this 9 and dangling a carrot? Or does this say to you, we know these 9, but this 10th place, we have got absolutely no idea who to pick?
Well, I think me, you, and Nico, you know, we jotted down our 10, and 9 of them were exactly the same. You know, that 10th spot was tough, but I gave it initially. I thought Chizzy might get it. I think his ranking and the season he's had, yes, the argument is. I mean, the problem is they sort of change. They chop and change to suit, which is their prerogative. You know what I mean? They're the ones paying the money out. They can do what they like. But then sort of go: is it floor form? Is it TV form? Or is it a culmination of both?
Combination of who you want to pick.
Answers on a postcard. I honestly, I watched the media scramble around Barneveld and his announced return, and the amount of sponsorship. You look like a Formula One driver, right? And all of those deals will be based on him, I'm sure, getting back on TV. Otherwise, they're pointless. The not necessarily ticket sales, because the Premier League nights sell out before anyone's announced, as in a normal environment or a normal year. But viewing figures are key. Analytics across the board in social media. If he gets a tool card, I think they'll put him in, and they'll blame Sky, of course.
Do you genuinely think that if Barney comes through Q School, he will be in the 2021 Premier League?
Yeah, you're not allowed to be in it if you haven't got a tool card, are you?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's no rule that's to suggest that.
Yeah, but I think.
Don't get me wrong. I think if they picked him without one, it causes an issue.
Yeah.
But I think that. Well, I know from last year that there was a certain player that Sky wanted in, but common sense prevailed in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah,
honestly, everyone thinks I'm on a wind up, but viewing figures is where the I mean, obviously ticket sales and everything else and everything that goes with it, but TV and numbers is such a big thing now, because there's so many channels out there. If you got a great viewership, negotiating with big brands, for advertising sponsorship on stage is huge, and he's massive. He's massive in the Netherlands. We know that, and of course RTL7 and one of the broadcasters over there, they're huge. They do bigger numbers than we do, I think, on Sky, not necessarily ITV, but on Sky. So yeah, I think and it would cause so much. I mean, how I do it, right? So I'd have the 9 players lined up on the back of the stage on the opening night of Premier League, right? And then I'd have this platform like about 8 feet down,
and just raise them up,
and then I'd just raise whoever it is up. Now that would break the internet, right? And that's what this, apart from actually, all the player's job is to do is just to throw darts. It's down to the rest of us to give it the as big as promotion as possible. And you imagine the anticipation, especially if they could actually keep it quiet, no one leaked it, and then you got Barneveld coming up through the floor to take the 10th and final spot. I just think it would make genius television. I think it would get everybody watching. You know what I mean? You get more unique viewers. I just think it would be perfect.
How much of a kick in the teeth would that be, though, to everyone else?
Trust me, I don't condone it, by the way. But, yeah. He shouldn't have been in it the last time he was in it. Listen, I'm 100% behind Barneveld's comeback. I don't want to see no negativity. I don't want to see no shaking of the head. I don't want to see that horrible attitude. He can't be asked, because if it did happen, he's taking someone's opportunity. A Dave Chisholm would be massive at this point of his career to get another run at it. Yeah. So I want to see the Barneveld that gives it all that look with the eyes, and then looks like he wants to cry when he's been on there 10 minutes later. I don't want to see that version of Barneveld. Eye of the Tiger, all that look, all that, come on, let's have a fight. Take it on stage and show us on there. I don't want to see it on the walk on. I want to see it on the hockey. I want to see you graft and grind. Because listen, he's one of the game's very, very elite. and one of the greatest players the sport's ever produced. And he's excellent to watch when he's on it. And that's the version, that's the Barneveld I want to see. I don't want to see the Barneveld come back because of how much money is involved. I want to see him come back because he has the passion back. He has that desire to win more. And listen, that Barneveld's just one thing, and that's great for the game.
Double edge here, Premier League leading into the Masters. With what the PDC have done by dangling that carrot to 4 or 5 maybe potentials, is that now extra pressure on a TV tournament?
Yeah, it's definitely on your Dave Chisnells for sure. Listen, if someone can come out of the pack and win it, which I don't think at the moment. I think we discussed this at the Worlds. I said I don't think there's anyone around right now in the kind of form needed to be a first-time TV winner. You know, we had it twice in the summer with De Souza and Dimitri. But prior to that, I think we'd have to go as far back as when Gezzy Price won one and Nathan Aspinall won one.
Yeah.
But they were in just the most incredible form. You know, we've seen it. I was gutted for Joe Cullen going back to the Worlds against Michael. I mean, that was one of the great games in world darts. You know, I could watch that over and over apart from the end because I really wanted Joe to win because he played so well and he deserved it. But you know, again, he choked by moving the ball wire off 164,
wiring the ball twice.
Yeah. That only comes from people that couldn't even score 164 on the dartboard, or even do the math on that checkout. Never mind actually get on the stage to be in a position to do it against, you know, the greatest or one of the greatest ever. I'm not sure about Ratajski's form. Ratajski needs to find another 10 points from somewhere to win a TV title, in my opinion. I think there's going to be too much pressure on Gurney. He knows how much is on the line. You know, I don't mind Gurney's first round draw against this one. I don't like his game against Chisnell. So yeah, I don't know where this 10th spot comes from this event. I think Bunting's up against it against Cullen, and then Cullen's right up against it against Gezzy Price. As we've seen last year, when Wrighty won the Worlds, he backed it up by winning the Masters. That just shows you what confidence gives you. And Gezzy's never short of that. Adrian Lewis, Michael Smith plays Gary Anderson. I mean, I don't know, but I presume Gary had been putting in a bit of graft for this one. We know with Gary, he actually uses the tournament to get into form. He's more about getting any form going into it from practice. But listen, he's I'm glad he said what he said, because that's putting a bit of pressure on him to perform. And then Rob Cross, he's another one. I mean, we were almost like, will he get in the Premier League? And Merv King, who's had a great revival. I mean, he played some lovely darts in the Players' Champs, and then backed that up with a great run in the Worlds. I like him against Durham. And you know, Merv King gives Rob Cross a hell of a game right now.
I was about to say this. Could the unthinkable happen? The year Merv King had last year, got to a final, and he's probably in what you'd say is the nicest section of the Masters draw.
Yeah, I got on form right now. If you look at that little group there of Rob Cross, Glenn Durrant, Merv King, Nathan Aspinall, Ian White, Mensa Sulovic, Merv King's the form player in that group.
Well, that's what I mean. If Merv gets to the semi-final, and let's just say he runs into Gezzy, if he can produce one of those games that he produced at the Players and stuff like that, if he makes another final in a short space of time,
you've got to seriously consider him putting him in. But he's not, you know, he's not.
doesn't tick the box.
Yeah, he's not box office. But
I know, I agree that he wouldn't be in the chat unless he gets to another final.
yeah, I feel quite sad for him because he's, he has to really force his way in there. We've seen like Barneveld get away with it for years, and even Whitlock on a few occasions has got in when you think maybe that was a bit. But again, it's a commercial. This is the thing. The Premier League is a commercial platform for them to put their brand, brand awareness. And I'm not. How can you question anything that that's got a 15-16 million pound a year prize fund, who we have to talk about, did it all last year, even with everything that went on, and put money in out of their own pocket to keep the sport alive. I mean, I cannot, I'm not going to sit here and criticize what they do with the Premier League. Do I agree with some of the decisions? No. Have I disagreed over the years with some of their decisions with the Premier League? Yeah, but that's about it. I can't really think of anything else I've ever sort of gone, oh, I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, Barry said to us in the media room early on that with no fans at the Worlds, they were losing £4 million on the Worlds.
Yeah, I think they swallowed around about 8 or 9 million last year. But that's because they're experts in their industry, and they didn't predict this would happen. But Barry being an ex-accountant, he understands the world's economy. He might have thought,
there's a pot for a rainy day.
Yeah, let's have this pot. And fair play. I mean, you also got to give Eddie Hearn credit, because he did. He's well, not quite the boss yet, but I'm pretty sure he's not far off. So he would have had to make that decision on behalf of Matchroom and say, he could have said, well, no, but like what we saw he did with boxing in his dad's back garden. It's a joke. Although it was in his dad's back garden of their old house. What a place that. Have you been to Matskell's?
No, but it looked, the fight camp just looked amazing.
Yeah, I'd do that in the summer anyway, instead of having small hall shows.
I think that's what he said. They're gonna bring it back.
Yeah, not that they do too many small hall shows, but you imagine going there in the summer, outside, just be the business, and it's a lovely place as well. But yeah, all credit to them. I don't quite know how they do it and continue to do it, but yeah, when sometimes you just got to doff your cap and say fair play.
Whilst we're on the subject of the Masters, are you a fan of taking it to 24 from 16?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it being it's crammed into 3 days. It was a nice little earner. Well, it's always a nice earner, but I love that event because, traditionally Thursday we'd all meet up and eat and have a drink together and have a chat, catch up, and then nothing on the Friday night, nothing on Saturday, bit of bets on the football, watch a match, and then work Saturday night, a few cheeky beers afterwards, and then a bit of a tough Sunday. So yeah, that's that gone out the window. But yeah, it was something that I'd suggested ages ago. Why can't we have more players? And it was basically down to scheduling, because horse racing and football or whatever. I think it was horse racing that got in the way on the Saturdays. But yeah, and what a great opportunity for 8 more players. They increased the prize fund. 8 players get another opportunity for a really good payday. Great exposure on ITV, and obviously all around the world, whichever companies pick it up. 60 grand the winner. It's not bad for a little 3-dayer.
It's all right.
Yeah, and it's live on TV. It's a great venue down at the MK. Everything under one roof. The players and obviously yourself, all the media people love it. So yeah, why not open up? It adds a bit of extra, it's got an extra bit of spice about it now. It's because there's 8 players that didn't know they were in it, and could go deep.
Whilst we're on the ITV subject, the news broke this week. Obviously, you've probably known for a while. The new deal has been announced with the PDC. Great for darts fans that Sky will stay. That darts will stay on free-to-air TV as well as Sky, which is great.
We knew about it a while ago, and ITV is, of course, it was a deal done, I presume, across the board, because obviously the snooker announced that they've got the same deal until the end of 2022, which is quite normal for broadcasters to do a deal that long. I've seen all the nonsense on the internet about, oh God, they haven't got any money. Well, I get a little bit more than £2.50 a day. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it's great for us. We were over the moon. As you know, you've been in and around the ITV team. It is.
It's a proper team.
It is a proper team. There's no boss. The runner is treated as well as I am, and I treat the runner as well, as speak to him the same way I speak to my boss, and my boss does the same. Everybody is there. I know it's a cliche, but it is. It's a big family, and we all do everything we can to bring the viewers the best possible experience. It's like anything. After people think I'm a great commentator, after other people think I'm a tosspot. Do I care? No. I get paid the same whether you like me or dislike me. In fact, it's even better when you dislike me and I pull up by the side of you in my car. Or show you my Rolex. It's one of them. And again, social media. There's nothing written on toilet doors anymore because it's all on social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, the team at ITV are absolutely thrilled to bits that we're going to be going for at least another 2 years. I keep trying to persuade them to, buy the Grand Slam back, but I'm not sure that's going to happen because that was our baby, and we need. I personally think we need a week-long tournament, one over a long distance. But we fill the void perfectly with all the World Series, of course. I think we're doing 10 or 11 events this year because we've got Australia and New Zealand in, which I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing from a studio because of the COVID.
Are you worried though the World Series doesn't happen?
No,
travel restrictions.
No, Australia and New Zealand have got it pretty sorted, haven't they? Especially New Zealand. I mean, she didn't mess about, did she? Instantly lockdown, army on the streets. So I think what will improve, without going on to COVID, because then people don't agree with a lot of I've got to say about it. I think they'll introduce a much superior test that will rule out any false positive. And I think the requirements will probably be something like before you fly, you isolate, you have this test, and then you can fly to Australia and New Zealand. I think they're going to be so strict because the problem with New Zealand, you see, they've got no COVID, which means they've got no immunity. So until again we get a vaccine that works, because this one doesn't stop you catching it, doesn't stop you spreading it. They don't know what it does right now. There's varying results out there, or views or opinions, not by me, but by people who are professors and virologists and immunologists. So yeah, a lot's going to change, and these countries will they'll have to find a vaccine that works first and foremost, and then vaccine the whole country because they've got no immunity to it whatsoever. Everybody goes, oh, it's great, they're back to normal. I've been watching the cricket, great seeing the fans in Australia. But yeah, it's going to be baby steps this year. I can't see us getting out of this lockdown until I don't think restrictions will be lifted until summer next year, maybe. Not like as we are now, but I just don't see how. They just keep moving the goalposts every week, don't they? It's just this, it's just that. I remember 10 months ago, 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Here we are, and I'm still riding down the canal filming some new swans this time that are having sickness. Yeah, it's tough for everybody, and I suppose we just listen. Whether I agree with the rules, I don't agree with 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, but I do it because it's the law. I don't agree with lockdowns, but I do it because it's the law. Don't agree with masks, but I do it because it's the law or guidelines. So everybody just got to do their bit. And if they're right what they say, which they're not, we wouldn't be. If lockdowns work, why are we having another one? If lockdowns don't work, why are we having another one? And that's it. And then it's not. It's very, very sad. Lots of people have died, which is really sad. And my sympathy goes out to everybody that has lost their life, and also thoughts with those who are struggling mentally. It's funny how mental health was on everybody's lips for years and years and years, and be kind, and that seems to be forgotten right now. So yeah, just always remember there's someone on the end of a phone somewhere.
Last few, Q School round the corner as well. Some big names on the list this year. And
yeah, I was surprised reading down that how many players had to go back to Q School. I was shocked. I didn't realise, they sort of gone away quite quietly through the back door. But yeah, it's interesting because the ones that have just missed out from retaining their tour card, they're already into the final day of 128, I do believe.
Which I like that, because now there's some sort of screening that you can't fluke your tour card on one day. That, okay, you might get through one day, but now you're into the second section. You've got to do it back up.
I mean, I've seen people moaning about the cost, and I'm like, well, they should make it even more expensive. But listen, if you're worrying about how much it costs to go to Q School, you shouldn't be going.
Yeah, you can't afford to do the tour.
Because you can't afford to do the tour. Yeah, you've got to have everything in place. It's not how it used to be. It's a full professional tour, and you should only be going into it if you've got aspirations of turning professional full time. And for that to happen, you've got to have deep pockets, or someone prepared to throw a few quid at you. You don't put your egg in cold water before you boil it. You know what I mean? You're not gonna. I don't understand. What is going on? And literally, social media awash with people moaning about all the hotel costs and everything else. All right. Well, wait till you got to go to the Euro Tour. You're worrying about costs, my old mate. Yeah, but I'm sure this way of screening it, it will start to eliminate those that are going for, and dare I say it, a bit of fun or to experience it or everything else. I think a lot of people are going because they want to play on the Challenge Tour. I think that's one rule I disagree with. I think if you want to play on the Challenge Tour, you shouldn't be forced to turn up for one day, because that's the rules, isn't it? You've got to play in at least one day. Well, what a great time that would have been to change it. Now, because you are going to have a lot of players that are going just for the experience. You also got a lot of players that know that they're not quite good enough maybe to get a tour card, but they want to play on the Challenge Tour. So for me this year, they should have given them an option, made it a little bit cheaper, and say, right, do you actually want to do Pure Score, or do you want to spend a year on Challenge Tour? And give them that option. That would have reduced the numbers down, which obviously would have taken away the risk.
UK Open on the horizon. A lot of talk around this at the moment.
We know. I hate this when we can't tell everybody, but there you go.
Yeah, lots of talk around it. Do you see it being moved, or do you see it being behind closed doors? Which one do you think the front runner is at the moment?
Behind the closed doors. Just looking at it logistically, Butlins would be big enough if the restrictions were lifted and we could have a certain amount. But the problem with that is, if you think how much it costs just to heat Butlins and then staff it, I don't think it would be financially viable. So I think it'll just be 128 tour card holders, and then behind closed doors, probably Milton Keynes and around the same dates, I would have thought, because that weekend is free. So yeah, I think that's the plan. Sadly, but ultimately, listen, the fans can still watch it on TV, and they can watch it for free, of course, because it's on ITV4. So yeah, sad that they can't be there. One of my favorite, my 2 trips a year down to Butlins. I absolutely love it down there. Get a great chance to mix with all the fans and have a laugh. But listen, too risky. Would there be a way around it? I'm not quite sure, because then you got to bring cost into it again, haven't you? What are you gonna do? Get everybody down there, test them, and tell them to stay in their room with them? I don't think that's going to work either. And especially you got 128 players to think of as well, and their safety and the safety of the fans. So yeah, I think it'd be same weekend, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't think Royal is again. That's not going to happen. So it's just, I think it'll be just a straight 128 tour card holders.
Or do you think they'll go the 128 tour card holders, the same amount of people from the Challenge Tour that went last year, and instead of the 8 or 10 qualifiers, they Dev Tour or extra Challenge Tour places, perhaps?
Yeah, that could be an option. That could be an option. You know, we know we can do it timing wise. I mean, that's 3 real tough sessions down there doing that because of the multi-board room and everything else, and the stage 2, of course. So yeah, it'd be interesting how they get around that. I think it would be nice for Challenge Tour players to get the opportunity to experience the UK Open, although it in a diluted form, of course. But yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, like I say, we know we have the ability to do it timing wise. So yeah, why not chuck, you know, the 128 and then put the top 32 in Challenge Tour.
I just hope that with some sort of normality by July, because I'd never thought I'd take going to Blackpool for granted. Because last year, as darts fans know, for me, the Emperor's Ballroom is the pinnacle. Forget the Worlds. It's that ballroom, and not going there last year was heartbreaking. So I just hope, as a darts fan, forget media work, just as a fan, I just hope that we can go back to Blackpool in July with some fans.
It's actually one of the few events I've ever gone at, you know, as a fan.
I always say to everyone, they've said, if you didn't do media, would you still go? I say Blackpool, and that's it.
Yeah.
The rest I can take it or leave, but as a fan, I would still go to Blackpool and would happily pay for a week's season ticket.
Yeah, as a player, it was my favourite. I absolutely just loved everything about the event, loved the history of the event, loved the venue. You know, everything's close by. So you know, we used to walk there. You know, lovely summer's day, just walk. You know, usually stay in the Players Hotel, which was a 10-minute walk away. Yeah, great tournament. I mean, you know, eventually the people are going to stand up and go, do you know what? Everything you've told us to do, we've done, and none of it's worked. You know, and that can't be far away. The nation's patience has to be tested. That's not a pun. Yeah, I mean, you've got to reach a point where they go, do you know what? We've done everything, absolutely everything, and we're still where we are. You know, and I mean, sport is getting absolutely panned. I mean, the repercussions in sport down the line. I mean, especially the smaller football clubs. I mean, I think there must be just. I mean, it's staggering to think. You know, although the BDO folded, I mean, they would have anyway, wouldn't they? Surely.
You think cricket clubs as well and stuff like that. I dread to think when this is done, how many sporting clubs and associations will lose from this.
Yeah, it's one of the funniest things ever. The government pump us about the importance of being fit and healthy and underweight to fight COVID. Yeah, I can get an half price KFC, but can't go to the gym.
Bonkers, isn't it? Absolute bonkers. But mate, we've wasted your time for an hour. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've covered some great topics here, mate. Massively appreciate your time and your support as always, mate. Thank you very much, and we'll see you, fingers crossed, at a venue sometime soon.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself, bud.